Welcome back to Sawyer's Farm. I'm Jacob. We're going to be in the shop today. We're going to be doing a little bit of building, and what we're going to be making is a chicken tractor. Okay, if you've seen our previous video, we got meat chickens, and one thing about meat chickens, we got the Cornish cross, the jumbo Cornish cross. They grow very fast. I've been meaning to get this done. We haven't really had necessarily the time, and now we have to do it, so it's a priority now because they're getting big and they need to be going in this. And so this is kind of how we're going to raise our chickens. We're going to put them on pasture, and we're also giving them feed and everything. But kind of the style of the tractor is going to be a Joel Salatin type tractor. He's like the king in homesteading, so I've seen a lot of his videos and stuff, and so it's kind of going to be kind of like that style of tractor. But right now, I'll just show you, I did a little bit of prep work before, just so you know this video wasn't, an hour long. But right now, what it's going to kind of be, it's going to be roughly around an 8x8 tractor, and it's going to be 2 foot tall, okay? And it's all going to be made out of 2x2s or 1.5 by 1.5 dimensional lumber. So, and the reason for this is you want to make it as light as possible. I made a chicken tractor out of 2x4s, heavy as heck. So I kind of learned my lesson with that. So I'm doing everything out of 2x2s, and this is kind of the same thing with our rabbit tractors. So right now I got a couple pieces cut up. Now I just need to cut the side pieces, the 2 foot pieces, and so I'm going to do that right now, and then I'm going to start putting up the walls on the sides and start connecting everything. So let's do that. All right, so if y'all haven't really built a whole lot of things, I haven't, but this is something I've been doing and I really like to do, and I've learned a little bit of things. So one thing that I've learned, definitely it's a beginner mistake, but if you're just now kind of starting something to think about, whenever you're cutting lumber, if you're wanting something 2 foot, make sure you know the dimension of the board. And I'll kind of show you this before. So I'm wanting these tractors to be 2 foot tall from top to bottom. So whenever you're cutting this piece for that, you don't cut it directly on 2 foot. You have to take into account the thickness of your board, okay, when you're adding it. So like on this piece, I'm wanting 2 foot. Now these are 1.5 by 1.5, so that's going to be 3 inches that I need to take off of this board. Okay, so just remember that. So instead of cutting it at 2 foot, you should be cutting it at, let me see here, at 1.9. Okay, not supposed to be doing math, but that's what it is. And when you put it up there, your top and your bottom will be 2 foot. If you don't do that, you cut it at 2 foot, you're going to be 3 inches off. And I did that all the time because I kept forgetting to take into account the thickness of the board. So just a little, I guess, beginner tip, something that I did all the time, and I learned my lesson. So let's get down to cutting these, and then we'll come back and put up the walls. So we got the short pieces cut. Now I'm going to start drilling in and making the sides. So with these 2x2s, you're going to want to pre-drill them because when you start putting the screws in, they can crack a lot easier. Now the lumber I'm using is untreated, and guys, one thing that we didn't tell you in the beginning is one way you can save money with lumber. We actually bought 2x12s by 8. And then we ripped them on a table saw. So all the 2x2s that you see here came from a 2x12. And depending on where you live, that can save you money. From what I remember is I think us doing that, ripping them ourselves, saved us $35 to $40 if we just went out and bought single 2x2s. So that's one way you can save some money. If you have a table saw, you can kind of rip it yourself. For some reason, it's not always cheaper. It just kind of depends on what dimension you're getting and everything. But this is untreated. Now, the bottom rung, the bottom 2x2s, I did coat them in, raw linseed oil. Okay, and that is actually in our Amazon link. You can go get that in the Amazon store. I didn't know exactly what I was going to be using this lumber for, so I got the untreated. And I know the bottom of it's going to be, contact to the ground. So I put the linseed oil on there, and that's also kind of like an organic type way to kind of seal up your lumber if you're kind of, worried about the chemicals and stuff. And that's why we didn't get the treated stuff. I know some people say that the new stuff for treated is okay for, raised beds and stuff. That's, your choice. I don't really prefer that. But just, what have you. I do know that they say that, but I still don't really trust it a whole lot. But that's what we got to do. So the bottom one is done. We're going to pre-drill. And just like I said right here, like I was talking about before, you got to count this side and this side. So that's why this piece is a little bit shorter than 2 foot. And now this whole entire section is 2 foot. So I'm going to pre-drill and then get these sides. All right, so we got pretty much all the framing done on the tractor here, as you can see. So what we did 4 foot in the middle with this middle beam, and that's for stability, and when you put the wire on, it gives you something to connect to so the wire's not so flimsy. Right here, that was on the front and the back, and then on the sides here, as you can kind of see, we had the same thing, but we did 3 feet on the sides. And because, and we'll be showing you this, it'll make more sense kind of towards the end. We're going to be putting tin. We got that kind of barnyard galvanized tin, and we're going to be sticking that from that pole all the way around to this pole. So this back side right here will be covered on the tin, so that will protect them from rain and wind, and just if they want to get in some shade a little bit, they have that area. So that's more of a weather protection. And then the roof, it'll have tin also, and we'll kind of leave it open. But that's mainly what we got done right now. And we are going to be building the lid right now. So we'll get on that, do the lid. Now another thing is this particular pen right here, an 8x8, if you're using the 1.5 square foot per bird, that is what kind of Joel Salatin, and a 2 square feet. So you can do 1.5 to 2 square feet per bird. This one can do 43 birds, doing 1.5 square feet per bird. So we have some room for later if we want to say get more. Right now we have 26. We have 26 of them. So that can be added to, and it gives them more room in here. So we have plenty of room for these birds. All right, so as you can see, we got the lid on, we got it all framed up, and we also put the bracing on. So I'll talk just a little bit about the bracing. As you can tell around here, wherever there is a beam, we put a bracing in the corners. So in all the corners, there's 3 of them. I mean, we braced everything up And the reason why we did that is this is going to be moved around a lot, probably get pulled by, you know, a four-wheeler, us moving it. It's going to have a lot of moving around, and it being, you know, the 2x2s, we just wanted to give it a really good structural base, okay? So that's the reason why for all the bracing, I want to build this thing to last. I don't want to keep repairing it, you know, because that's just a hassle down the road. And so the lid, the way we did the lid, this is a pretty big one. It goes the whole length, okay? And one of the reasons for that is I'm a big guy. Whenever we go to get these chickens out of here, I don't want to have to crawl under, you know, 2 foot and, you know, run around and start grabbing them. With this, I can kind of lift it up, put a brace, and I can kind of somewhat, I know I can't stand, but it's a lot better than being on my hands and knees and coming underneath in 2 foot. It'll be just a little bit more. So that's one of the reasons why we did the lid in that way. But the thing we're going to be doing now, we're almost done. We're going to be cutting the hardwire mesh. It's just a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, and we're going to be putting that on the sides, and then we're going to be putting the tin on, and we're pretty much just going to be buttoning this thing up, and we're pretty much almost going to be done. So let's get on to that. We're doing the tin and doing the wire mesh, and we're going to be also putting the latches on. So we'll get to doing that. All right, so we got all the mesh on. We got the 3 sides, the front, and then we also have the top piece right here, like I was talking about before. So all the mesh is done. Now we're going to be getting on to the tin. We're going to be putting the rest of this on the top. It's going to be tin, and like I said before, the sides are going to be it. I just got to trim off just a few inches just because of the dimensions. And we're going to be slapping them up on there, and we're pretty much going to be done after we get this tin on. All right, y'all, so we are finally about 99% done, but we're pretty much kind of going to wrap it up a little bit, but we're just going to show you the finished product on exactly what everything looks like, and this is pretty much what it is. Now, so we got the tin on all the sides, we got this part here. I put some strips right here along, just to, the one thing I'm a little worried about is goats jumping on this, because goats jump on everything, and even our other tractor over there, they jump on it. And this is, the tin is just a little bit more, it's not as thick. So that's kind of why I beefed it up a little bit more than I really wanted to. It's just I don't necessarily plan on having goats in the same area as this, but if it ever happens, I don't want them to jump on this and then they go straight through the roof. So I'm just kind of beefing up it a little bit with the strips and all the bracing. Got myself a little handle here, okay, to make it easy to open. And then I made this little 2x4 and cut notches out. And what this is for is, because this is a pretty big door, okay, it's a little heavy, but you pull it up, stick this down in there, and you have it like this, and this makes it to where, I mean, it's not going to come out. Now, you may be thinking about wind taking this thing. This is the reason why we got 1% to do. On the sides here, I'm going to put a screw, and I'm going to put some 550 cord, some people call it like paracord, and I'm going to measure it out to where it's perfect, just like this, to where the wind can't pull it, and this thing won't fall down. And this thing's not going to come out with that cord on there because they're both sides. So if we're in there, this thing, you know, you can tell it's getting knocked around. It's not going to fall down on our heads or anything like that. So definitely going to need this, especially how kind of big and heavy this door is. So I made that there, and you can kind of tell on the inside here, I really like how it turned out. It's very spacious, it looks nice, it's very pleasing to the eye, at least I think it does. So we're just really happy about how it looks. And come over here, if you've seen our other tractors, the way we kind of built this thing, we'll be able to move a variety of ways. Okay, I know it's very heavy, or it's not as heavy as I thought it was going to be, but it's still heavy, especially for Alex trying to move it herself. But we have these just old hose, and it's kind of, we use the same thing on our rabbit tractors, and we really like that. We got 2 of them, so most of the time me and Alex will probably be moving this together, so we can just pick it up and move it. So that's one way we can do it. Now another way here is, and this is kind of how Joel Salatin does it. He has a special little setup for it, but you can come back here, press it under, we can kind of pull it up, and then one person can kind of pull from the front. So that's one way you can do it. So up here on the front, like I said back there, if you have that little wheel system, right here we got some eye bolts that literally I've just been saving. This actually came off my truck, but we put those there, and I'm going to get some chains and put it out there to where a person can pull it if we're doing it that method, or if say I'm gone or Alex has to do it by herself, I'll set this up right here where it can be pulled by the four-wheeler, because I know Alex, I know she's strong, but this is pretty heavy and I wouldn't want her to do this by herself. So we can attach the four-wheeler here, and then she can just slowly kind of pull it and kind of be done. So I mean, there's a multiple ways that we can move this, and I really like that. You can, just because of if you're not here and somebody else has to do it, they can, you know, there's so many different ways that they can do it depending on their physical capabilities. Another thing that I'm thinking about doing here on the inside, and I've kind of seen it with our other chicken tractors, is back here. I'm thinking maybe a foot off of the back wall, putting a piece of like baling wire going across the whole way, about a foot off the back. And the reason why I'm thinking about doing that, put in the comments if you think that's a good idea, if y'all have had chicken tractors a lot, and especially meat birds, because this is the first time we've had meat birds. But I have had an issue one time moving a tractor, and the chicken got their leg caught underneath the back end. It kind of broke it, but we fixed it up and it did perfectly fine. But I just really wanted to try to mitigate that, and I'm thinking putting a wire maybe just a foot off the back, real low, so whenever the wire comes, it kind of nicks them and they kind of move, and if they do trip, they still have a whole foot to kind of get up and get out of the way before the back end comes. But leave it down in the comments if y'all do that, or you think that's a good idea. Just trying to get your opinion on it. Don't know if it's really necessary, but Just like to see what you think about it. All right, y'all. So I don't know if y'all picked up on me earlier talking about how many meat chickens we had, but if you did, we have 26. Now, if y'all paid attention to our previous videos, we had 52. Now, you may be asking yourself, what happened to the others? Well, Kevin over at Hidden Heights Farm came over, and we didn't actually need 52. We actually were going in with someone else, and then they couldn't do it, so we had the 52, and we didn't need that many. So we sold them. We were wanting to sell them, and Kevin hit us up and was like, hey, he was wanting to do some meat chickens, and we said, well, we got them, and they're nice and healthy. We've had them for a week, and he said, yeah, he wants them. So he came over, and he got the other half, and so go check out Kevin at Hidden Heights Farm. We'll put a link down to his channel, and go check him out. If you're not already subscribed, you probably are if you're watching us. But if not, if you're watching this and you haven't checked him out, go check him out. He's got goats, chickens, he does turkeys, quail. He's got livestock guarding dogs, and they're raising hogs now. Actually, going to be farrowing them and everything. So go check him out. He's got a world of knowledge. And yeah, just check him out. He's a really good guy. We like talking to him. But guys, if you like this video, hit the like button. If you got any questions about how we kind of set this thing up and everything, just leave it down in the comments, and we'll try the best to answer them. Hit that bell for notifications. But you got to subscribe to our channel, so then you can hit the bell for the notifications. But guys, as always, take care and God bless.